2015. What a different world that was. Wow. It's so nice to be back in East Tennessee. I gotta admit, I had this little thing on the way here. I was like, I've been here at this time of year before, and driving around out here, between here and Johnson City and stuff, you roly-poly roads with no shoulders and stuff. You go by houses with these bright orange flowers, the red hot pokers, right? The first time I ever saw them was here. So I got a couple in my yard. That's different since 2015, and that's because I come to Northeast Tennessee every now and then at just this time of year and got red hot poker envy. So go figure. I bet you didn't think you were going to hear anything about those tonight, right? So one of the things that happened since the last time I was here is both of my parents spit in a tube and changed the world. They took that ancestry DNA test. Woo, we got us a rabbit hole. It wasn't like we had any big surprises in my direct family or anything, but I mean, I got a lot of Scot and a lot of Irish, and that means there's a lot of, rogues and ne'er-do-wells and all kinds of other stuff. The fun stuff of ancestry is finding out all the scalawags that are still swimming around in your DNA, And I got to thinking about it one day that it's kind of funny. We have the family tree up on the wall and everything because of all of this crazy journey. My ancestors basically hijacked my music career not long after that, and they didn't relent until I'd not only done an album but written a book about the experience, because there was just way too much you can't make this stuff up. And I look at that tree every now and then, and one thing that hit me was no one of those spots on there is any more or less important than any other. You take away any single one of those people and poof, right? We're not here. And I really thought that I ought to be a little bit more grateful about that. So I really did set out to write a song of gratitude. Say their names out loud once in a while, Be grateful for the gift of this life. The rogues and the renegades, as well as the saints and Samaritans. Unfortunately, I'm still a singer-songwriter, which means that it winds up being all about me in the end anyway, but I did try. I've been trying to touch the past. I want to know just why I am. Reach back through the mist of time. So much I want to understand. You were a child once like me, full of wonder. Sometimes that you were scared. I know that sometimes you were brave. This is the only life I've known. In part you gave it to me. Look ahead, you are woven in the thread in my web of mystery. I'm still trying to touch the past while the present slips away. But I've got to know how your heart goes before those pages fade to gray. You were old once like me. I wish that I could see your face. No one else knows what's past our eyes. so much. You know, we live in the most remarkable times. Heck, 20 years ago, let alone 100 years ago, if you told someone that they would be walking around with this supercomputer in their pocket, capable of looking at pictures of like Pluto sent back by a spaceship, and click a little thumbs up to like it, imagine how bizarre that would have seemed, you know? And yet, one of the most extraordinary powers of those devices is pretty easy to overlook. I had a hankering to head up to Carver Gap this morning before coming here. Mother Nature had other plans today, but I was thinking about it real hard. Because when you go to a place like that, and you catch the light just right, the mood of the sky, the lay of the land, that little gizmo you hold in your hand is capable of capturing a moment completely out of time and save it for all time. It's a poem I wrote about somebody who did it the old-fashioned way some years ago. Would there be another Ansel Adams, American original, sculptor of shadow and light? Will another have the patience to await the perfect moment when the elements and angles are just right? No hero, cursed with pride and foible, but like any Einstein you find, take everything you can. Seraphim of film and format, wizard of the lens, freezing magic in a frame of stone and sand. In a range of light, a gentleman revealed his heart, showed us treasures God had laid sight hid. And in a sacred setting, shutter clicking on the wind, let us see like Ansel Adams did. 2015. What a different world that was. Wow. It's so nice to be back in East Tennessee. I gotta admit, I had this little thing on the way here. I was like, I've been here at this time of year before, and driving around out here, between here and Johnson City and stuff, you roly-poly roads with no shoulders and stuff. You go by houses with these bright orange flowers, the red hot pokers, right? The first time I ever saw them was here. So I got a couple in my yard. That's different since 2015, and that's because I come to Northeast Tennessee every now and then at just this time of year and got red hot poker envy. So go figure. I bet you didn't think you were going to hear anything about those tonight, right? So one of the things that happened since the last time I was here is both of my parents spit in a tube and changed the world. They took that ancestry DNA test. Woo, we got us a rabbit hole. Now, it wasn't like we had any, big surprises in my direct family or anything, but, I mean, I got a lot of Scot and a lot of Irish, and that means there's a lot of, rogues and ne'er-do-wells and all kinds of other stuff. The fun stuff of ancestry is finding out all the scalawags that are still swimming around in your DNA, you know? And I got to thinking about it one day that it's kind of funny. We have the family tree up on the wall and everything because of all of this crazy journey. My ancestors basically hijacked my music career not long after that, and they didn't relent until I'd not only done an album but written a book about the experience, because there was just way too much you can't make this stuff up. And I look at that tree every now and then, and one thing that hit me was no one of those spots on there is any more or less important than any other. You take away any single one of those people and poof, right? We're not here. And I really thought that I ought to be a little bit more grateful about that. So I really did set out to write a song of gratitude. Say their names out loud once in a while, Be grateful for the gift of this life. The rogues and the renegades, as well as the saints and Samaritans. Unfortunately, I'm still a singer-songwriter, which means that it winds up being all about me in the end anyway, but I did try. I've been trying to touch the past. I want to know just why I am. Reach back through the mist of time. So much I want to understand. You were a child once like me, full of wonder, full of pain. I know sometimes that you were scared. 20 years ago, let alone 100 years ago, if you told someone that they would be walking around with this supercomputer in their pocket, capable of looking at pictures of like Pluto sent back by a spaceship, and click a little thumbs up to like it, imagine how bizarre that would have seemed, you know? And yet, one of the most extraordinary powers of those devices is pretty easy to overlook. I had a hankering to head up to Carver Gap this morning before coming here. Mother Nature had other plans today, but I was thinking about it real hard. Because when you go to a place like that, and you catch the light just right, the mood of the sky, the lay of the land, that little gizmo you hold in your hand is capable of capturing a moment completely out of time and save it for all time. It's a poem I wrote about somebody who did it the old-fashioned way some years ago. Would there be another Ansel Adams, American original, sculptor of shadow and light? Will another have the patience to await the perfect moment when the elements and angles are just right? Ansel Adams was American original, sculptor of shadow and light. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, third one. Not wasting any time getting to them today. So I come from a little historic village on the edge of the oil slick of progress. And if that doesn't describe Western Loudoun County, Virginia in a nutshell, I don't know what does. But so the village that I live in is called Lincoln, and it was founded in the 1730s or 40s. We hang on to the past pretty hard there. The Quakers are still meeting right there in the center of the village, and there's a whole lot of them planted in the cemetery across my dead-end gravel road from me. It's kind of one of those places where it's sort of this curious mix of the old and the modern. We do all of the things. I mean, one of my guitar students was the 10th generation of her family to live in the same house. You know, it's crazy stuff. And we do the old-fashioned things like going caroling on the neighbors' porches during the holidays and then posting about it on Facebook like any historic village does in the 21st century, I guess. Now, there's the one cemetery across my dead-end gravel road, but there are two behind me for the historic African-American churches that are back there. So the dead outnumber the living in Lincoln by at least 10 to 1, and it's a pretty quiet place, generally speaking. And one of those burying grounds backs right up to my backyard property, and I try to keep the back of my yard nice because people come through and visit their relatives every now and again, especially around Memorial Day, and I want to be a good neighbor and all of that because I don't really want to be haunted because I don't really need that. I got enough going on with the voices in my head that don't pay rent, let alone that. So I was packing for a tour up to the Northeast back in October and started ferrying stuff out to the van, and I noticed there was a very large commotion going on the edge of my backyard that involved a ton of law enforcement, and they had shovels. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I haven't planted anything out there but bulbs, and the deer ate them all. And yeah, if you want to arrest the deer for me, I'd appreciate that. But I found out what was going on because more and more law enforcement was coming in. And finally, I got curious enough to kind of take a peek. And they were digging because 50 years ago, a young black woman had been murdered and dumped on a neighboring farm. And they never identified her. They never solved the case, and they needed some place to bury her, and they asked the black church if they'd be willing to take her, and they said, of course. So they came back 50 years later to see if they could find out who she was and who killed her. Now, because of my parents doing the DNA tests, I got kind of sucked into this whole ancestry DNA, genealogy DNA, and yes, I have seen the show, The Genetic Detective, that, the whole thing about how they caught the Golden State Killer and everything was basically stuff that we do with DNA all the time, trying to figure out who the heck that brick wall ancestor is. So the lady who does that, C.C. Moore, works with and for a company that's about 35 minutes away from me. And I started thinking about it as I was driving to Maine, going, if C.C. Moore gets this case and she solves this case, it's going to probably be on national TV. And everybody across this country is going to see a bunch of law enforcement digging up somebody in my backyard. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I hope she solves the case. But it seems like a whole lot of excitement for a little place that's not all that exciting. Most of the time. I guess things are usually a little quieter in my little town. They close our road on the 4th of July for the kids to ride by. Bikes, red, blue, and white, let the judges decide. It's our little town. The world of change swirls around my little town. Thank you. So, it's kind of been sort of a big surprise to me to find out how much of my own musical DNA come from my dad's father's family. I knew that there was music in his mother's family, and that's probably where we had gotten it. And lo and behold, I find out that my great-grandfather, whose name I wear, the Scots were not particularly inventive when it came to naming people. They kept recycling the same half dozen names over and over again. So my great-grandfather, Andrew McKnight, was a Scottish fiddler and a songwriter, turns out. So as I was working on the songs for this project, I thought, Dad's sat in on the keyboards with me at shows like every time I've been up in Connecticut, probably 30 years now, but we've never recorded anything together. And I thought, well, if ever there was a time, since your family history is a big part of this project, maybe we ought to do it. And at that point, he was 83, so it was like, all right, let's figure this out. So I sent him a handful of these songs, the recordings of them, and what do you think of these? And about a week later, he calls me back, and he says, no. What? No. He says, no, you cut beats out of measures here and there, like randomly. You don't count to 4 all the time. I mean, I can't follow that. What are you doing? And I'm like, okay. All right, Dad. Tell you what, I'll write something specifically aimed at you. We'll get this nailed. Now, my dad is pretty good with playing piano and organ to good rock and roll. I mean, he's hot on the Allman Brothers and Skinner and all of that, so he's got chops. But his favorite thing, his sweet spot, is kind of that Great American Songbook, So I was like, that's where we're going, that sort of jazzy, bluesy kind of thing. So by the end of the week, I'd sort of pieced it together enough to send him a demo. And this time he only took a day. He calls me back. He says, yeah, I like that one. That's good. We'll do that. So I arranged to have a guy come out with his recording gear, and we recorded him at his house, and that was all fine, well, and good. And a few weeks later, I sent him a mix down of it so he could hear what the recording sounded like and all that, with it all blended together. And I said, what do you think? He's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I still haven't listened to the words yet. It's called Sons and Fathers. We are all born screaming, naked and afraid. Looking back, it's funny seeing all those plans I made. We'd throw our balls and race our bikes, somehow dare to dream. Manhood ain't as hard as fathers make it seem. I guess it's just the way of things. We take our place in line, like our fathers and their fathers did, when it was their time. Now we're slowly trading places. Suppose those are the rules. Father time won't suffer any fools. And all those things we cannot say, perfectly imperfect dad, getting out of our own way. Hey, we do not, and we will not, could not, though we know it's true. Nothing else gets quite is tangled up in knots, as sons and fathers do. It's the hardest thing I've done. Though any man can take the gig, it ain't for everyone. The have-tos and the must-dos, credit and the blame we earn, hoping what we teach is what they need to learn. And all those things we cannot say, we're perfectly imperfect at getting out of our own way. Hey, we do not, and we will not, could not, though we know it's true. Nothing else gets quite as tangled up in knots as sons and fathers do. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, one of the things that I got involved with since the last time I was here, my friend Mac Bailey has been a long-time force on the folk music scene. He was in a group called the Hard Travelers around D.C. for a long time. About 2010 or so, Mac walked away from the whole performing world, went back to school for music therapy, and has devoted his life to helping our wounded warriors come home and deal with the invisible wounds and scars, using songwriting as a vehicle for therapy. And in fact, there's a retreat going on this weekend down in North Carolina that I'm sad to be missing out on, but I'm glad to be here because I can at least share one of those songs with you. It's weird, you know, it's not the sort of thing that 15-year-old me imagined when I was shredding away on my Strat in the bedroom, you know, like dreaming of being a rock star and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's the most peculiar life in music I could have been blessed with, but it's darn good. And to be able to work with our combat vets is pretty powerful and sacred kind of work, you know? It's like, but it's also like taking a college course in a weekend. You show up at the retreat Saturday morning, and the vets are there, and they're doing some mindfulness workshops, and they each get gifted a guitar out of the deal, too. Music is a huge part of this thing. And then you get introduced to your vet, and you're one-on-one for a couple hours. They share their story, and you start, you know, by doing a lot of listening and ask some questions and all that. And gradually you start piecing together some musical ideas. And before you know it, you got kind of a little bit of something going on. And then you part ways for the day. And for me, I go back to my make-a-living room and Frankenstein some sort of something out of the day into, you know, 3.5 minutes of singable, hummable, memorable, hopefully halfway decent something or other. And then you go back the next morning and you get together for another couple hours. And I have to say, as a songwriter and as a musician, one of the most powerful experiences is to sit there with somebody who's gone through this great trauma and hardship and share their story in something sort of powerful and uplifting in some kind of way that's, shows that their story has meaning to others. Those moments are pretty poignant and pretty emotional. And when you're done, it's like, after that all kind of calms down a little bit, you sort of like do a little tweaking maybe around the edges, and then on you go, and you have a concert that night for their family and friends. And to watch each of these veterans walk out of these retreats like 20 pounds lighter in their aura, it's just an amazing experience to be part of. So I'm going to share one of those songs with y'all now. This is one I wrote with this big, quiet, thoughtful guy from Michigan who it took him a little while to start, and every time he rolled out another detail or two, I was like, whew. Now, the common thread with all of these vets is they all got to the point where they wanted to sign off duty for that one final time. Be done. That's it. I can't take any more. And someone, somehow pulled them back from the brink. And in his case, this was a very public place in a very high tension, lots of law enforcement and snipers and all that jazz. And he said, I got to thinking about it when I was sitting in the police station hours later when the adrenaline finally wore off. He said, even in that moment, I thought about the 22 vets on average a day who take their own lives. And he said, I guess I just decided even in all of that maybe I should make a different choice. So it's called Life I Choose. Driving Flatland, Michigan, the radio's on. Teenage dad in a country song. The graduates all go away. 2 baby girls need me to stay behind. Sign my name on the dotted line. Wrote a blank check, went to Paris Isle. Band of brothers like no other bond. Be a Marine, you can be someone. All those years of training found a moment of grace, a moment of mercy, staring face to face. In that moment I saw nothing, I found everything to lose. Today is gonna take one less life that I choose. Took away my badge and gun. Things I believed made me someone. Might as well take my soul and take my bones. An empty shell all alone in the darkness. All those years of training found a moment of grace, a moment of mercy, staring face to face. In that moment I saw nothing, I found everything to lose. Today is gonna take one less. It's life that I choose. Life that I choose. I'm building something solid on shaky ground. Lessons from the rubble that I have found. It took a lot of pride and a lot of heart to take a chance at a second start at being alive. And all that lifetime of training found a moment of grace, a moment of mercy, staring face to face. In that moment I saw nothing, I found everything to lose. Today is gonna take one less. It's life that I choose. Michigan, the radio's on. Now I'm the one who chose this song. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all doing okay? Yeah. Everybody got enough to eat? This feels like the most appropriate time to say thank you for putting together an amazing experience for us all to share. The food was delicious. To the kitchen crew, to everybody who made it all happen, thank you, and especially Karis, thank you for inviting me. Too bad I didn't order a second one for after the show sometime, but that's okay. The first one was delish. So I have to say that I've gotten involved with a lot of things that I never imagined my music career would be, like being in a movie. That happened totally by accident, and it's all because of this guitar. My friend Marty Fair is a luthier, the Fair-Built Guitar Company, and you can't buy his guitars at the dollar store, which is why I never had one. But that didn't keep me from scheming to try to find a way to get one. And so I finally hit on it one day, a novel approach, I suppose. I said, Marty, everybody who owns one of the 6 guitars you manage to build every year lives within an hour of here. Your guitars deserve to be heard around this whole big, beautiful country, and I volunteered to be the guy to do it. This was his first mistake. He said, that sounds good. So we were sitting in his shop, talking about what kind of guitar I wanted to build, and, it was the cutaway and thinner body and yada, 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 and we're all done. And I have to say, the distance from the top of my head to exiting my mouth is like really short sometimes. The idea just, phew, it's gone before I even have a chance to put the brakes on it or filters or anything else. And I said, so many of my songs are from here, of here, about here, the hills of Northern Virginia and the Shenandoah Valley and stuff. I said, what do you think, man? Can we make this guitar out of local native wood? You want to try to capture the sound of home in a wooden box? And this was Marty's sound. Surrender, for no peace I'll find. So dig my grave gently upon a tall tree hill. Though my body's lost the battle, no, my soul never will. And I crumble like stone into sand. Life goes like dust from my head, and I crumble like stone into sand. Life blows like dust. Thank you. exploration of my family history was aided and abetted, facilitated and enabled by my grandmother, who gave all of her grandkids the gateway drug to Ancestry.com by making us write out our Revolutionary War ancestry. And 9-year-old me had the most terrible handwriting, and if you've ever seen me sign anything, you'll know that it didn't improve in all the ensuing years. But one of the things that I learned quickly when I finally decided that I would go and see what Grandma's family tree had hanging for fruit in it, that if you have colonial ancestry, everybody else who shares it has already gotten on Ancestry and done all of that work. So pretty much a great way to kill off a November night when it's dark at like 5 o'clock, what we sort of refer to as the long nights of high genealogy season, and follow those shaky leaf hints back into the past. And this particular night, it was late. I'd poured myself a little spot of something, and I was just, happily plunging back into 1400s England or something. And then I started thinking that wasn't really a great place to be, and maybe I'll skip that part for now because, it sounds dangerous. So the next thing I know, I'm looking at this record for this guy who is my 10 times great-grandfather. He's a sea captain by the name of Nathaniel Turner, and he's one of the founding citizens of New Haven, Connecticut. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. The thing that caught my attention was the fact that there was a record attached that was the text of Longfellow's poem, The Phantom Ship, which apparently is what happened to my 10 times great-grandfather, because everybody went down with the Phantom Ship. And I started to roll what was left of the ice cube around the bottom of the glass a couple of times, mulling that for a moment. And I have to say, the first cogent thought that came to mind was, I am damn glad he had kids before he got on that boat. Because otherwise, I'm not here. And then I got to thinking a little bit about the fact that, you're bound to have those kinds of episodes in your family history, just because each one of us, whether we know any of the names, numbers, any of the important stuff, in theory, have 4,096 10 times great-grandparents. Now, here's a little Vegas for you. If you were to go back in time and somehow able to identify each of those 4,096 people, pick them out, pair them up, and say that 400 or 500 years in the future, you would be here, the perfect product of all of that being the focus of a family tree, would you take the bet? How about if I was to pick 4,096 random people now? You wouldn't take that bet. So, my interpretation of that is, the next time you're having a for shit day, remind yourself that you beat a bazillion to 1 odds to even be here. You're magic. You're miraculous. We all are. It's kind of crazy, but there it all is. That's the self-help portion of the program. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about was like, it happened to be like that day or something was when it happened. So I noticed the date, and I was like, anniversaries are so weird, man. Like, we remember important dates in our life, and, in the news you'll see like, 75 years ago this or 100 years ago that, and it's like every day is an anniversary for somebody somewhere. It was something important, and we'll never know most of it. And it doesn't take much to get an overactive songwriter's imagination down the rails. So, today, 2,000 years ago today, a farmer walked his fields, wondered what the land would yield before the winter snow. 2,000 years ago today, 2 young lovers kissed, laughed and made a wish beneath the shooting star glow. the stone to break another's bones and keep some fool upon a throne. 2,000 years ago today, a cog in a war machine drew his last breath on a distant plain as he dreamed of home. Somewhere in a far and distant future, millennia beyond imagining, as time takes away what will remain of how we lived and loved today. 2,000 years ago today, a mama hushed her little ones, kissed them on the head and tucked them into bed, and turned her face toward the sky for blessings from on high. Pray to guide them safe on the unknown path ahead. She wondered someday in a far and distant future, millennia beyond imagining, as time takes away what will remain of how we lived and loved today, of how we live and love. Thank you so much. Jeez, who messed up this stage on me here? Not a bit to worry about. I know at least a couple of you were here when I was here last, which is encouraging, I think. You knew what you were in for and you came anyway. That's good. I'll play a couple that might be familiar to people who got my records the last time I was here. In the desert, searchlights glare and there's gunshots and shouting, but somehow I slipped by, only God knows why. The trucker dropped me at the Arkansas line. Where I come from is where the drugs run, and the men come with money and lust for honest living. Hope God's forgiving, for I left my family for this one chance at hope, and I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? Scars and scratches, chemical rashes, got secrets. Have learned English. Someday the name on the door will be mine, and I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. For all the politicians, state their positions, collecting campaign cash to build a wall behind them. But I do work you bored, dirty jobs you do, and all I ask is the right to be human, and I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? So much. Thank you. Did y'all bring your singing voices? People graduate with like music majors today. You might think might be able to coax a little singity out. We'll see. This is a piece of wisdom my grandmother gave me when I was 8 years old. And it was because well, clearly I needed it. I'm still absorbing it, but see, my parents were school teachers, which meant about this time of year, they'd about had it with kids. And there was still a month to go. So by the time that month got over with, it was like avoiding murder was the basic goal. And day one of summer vacation is a precocious only son hanging out with nothing to do, going, let's do something. I'm pretty sure my grandparents intervened each summer to save my life. Because it seemed like as soon as school got out, within just a couple of days, here come Grandma and Grandpa, and they lived an hour and a half away. And they're there to pick me up, take me back to their house for a few days, and I'm like, yeah, these people are grumpy. Yeah, I'm going with my grandparents. That sounds good. My grandparents lived in town, which meant that I could go walk down to the corner store and buy like a pack of baseball cards and stuff and like eat all the gum without anybody like nagging at me about it. See, my grandparents had a handful of rules, but let's just say the enforcement was pretty lax. And they were happy to have me because I was young and naive, and I didn't realize that Graham had me there for her own nefarious purposes. My grandmother was what one could describe as a serial volunteer. So we'd get up in the morning, have breakfast, and she'd pack me in the car, and off we would go first to like church to, help get ready for some social thing that was going on. And then maybe it would be off to the historical society for a couple hours. And then maybe to the hospital where she had been retired as the head of nursing. And I distinctly do remember the conversation that precipitated this because I was confused, really. We hopped in the car after all of that one day, and I'm like, Grandma, would you please tell me, about the part of retired, because I'm just tired. We haven't played a single round of mini golf today. And you do all this stuff, and you're not getting paid for it. What's the deal? And man, did I ever set up the grandma hammer then. Whoo! Now, my grandmother was awesome about never, ever saying anything cross to me that I ever remember, but I'm pretty sure she didn't waste many teachable moments either. So I got that grandma grin. That like, well. And then she said, you know, all of these things that I do are just little things. What's it hurt me to bake a pie? I like to do that. You know, go and see somebody who's in the hospital not feeling well. Heck, I get to walk out on my own 2 feet. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then, imagine what the world would be like if a whole lot of people did those little things. Imagine that. I sort of gave her that dumb look. I was good at the dumb look. I practiced it around my parents quite a bit. Grandma was completely impervious to the dumb look. She's like, just think about what this world would be like if a whole lot of people chipped in and did a little thing. And I think what she was trying to get across to this little logical, analytical-minded kid was that we human beings are indeed more than the sum of our parts, and that we're capable of being a whole lot more together. Now, I don't know if she wanted me to just remember that when it was my turn to do a little thing and not worry about if anybody was looking. Or maybe she just never wanted me to lose faith that the good things will always, always matter. Rush hour traffic going nowhere. The merge becomes a contact sport. Frustration boiling over. Tempers growing short. The suited man bucks the trend at the toll booth. That's the grandmother in. He knows the people that we share the road with have loved ones waiting just like him. Good things matter long after they're done. Good things matter, each and every one. Good things matter, no matter how small. Good things matter to us all. In all of the things that came out in my out loud voice, you would think the one thing that really mattered the most would be the one that I would say and did not. And that is, I'd love it if y'all sang along. It's easy like this. Good things matter. You try it. Good things matter. Sopranos, you can have good things matter. And equal time for bass, right? Good things matter. Actually, since we are in a UU church, the words joyful noise do appear, but there is nothing about perfect pitch any place, which means as long as nobody's sticking an elbow into your side, you just go for it next time it comes around. Tear Street boy behind the playground fence, with teams picked, game in full swing. His braces hold him back from what his glasses show. He is not good at this thing, but the bigger boy who plays a game with natural skill and grace says, here's my bat, take my place. He knows the final score is more than runs across the plate. Get ready, y'all, by the pinch hitter smiling face. Good things, long after they're done. Good things, each and every one. No matter how small, good things matter to us all. That's a beautiful noise. child knows she's been heard. Ask a wallflower to dance. Give mistakes a second chance. Smile at strangers on the street. Share the table where you eat. Leave the extra change behind. Fight fear, let color shine. Kind words to chase the gray. When things are hard, find a way. It all comes back someday. Long after they're done, and each and every one, no matter how small, good things matter to us. Good things matter. Three more, nice and loud. Good things matter. Best dessert ever. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you for being here today. Thank you to the crew for all the work to get me set up and sounding as good as possible. Thank you to the kitchen crew. My goodness, what a lovely afternoon. And it is just so wonderful to be back here. I'm delighted that y'all came, each of you. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives to be here and listen to these fool songs that came out of my fool head, and letting me share these stories with you and share these moments on the road with you. Thank you for making my life and music possible today. I am deeply grateful. So I leave you today with a song that's not on any of my records because I'm not a marketing genius, clearly. My dad always played in bands because he was a school teacher, and that meant he didn't get paid enough to actually have a house and a family and all that, so he had to moonlight, so he played music on weekends. So I don't ever remember a time when there weren't band practice at our house once a week. The band would be down in the basement. And let's just say that I was a nefarious little kid in lots of ways. My mom, once I went to bed, kind of assumed that I stayed there. And it took a while for her to catch on. Mom's not the quickest. She's persistent, though. But I would get past Mom and quietly down the stairs, and I'd sit there on the stairs because the old man and his keyboards were set up on the side of the wall over here, so he couldn't see the stairs. And I could see everybody else in the band, and as long as I didn't call any attention to myself, nobody would rat me out. So when I was in middle school, my feet were 3 sizes too big. My hair wouldn't stay down with duct tape. And every day for that hour-long bus ride each way, some new zit to decorate my face with. And man, that awkward time I hid behind a guitar, I'm like, I'm desperate for anything. And I will never forget when I first started wrapping my hand around these chords and trying to make them sound like something. Everybody in the band started treating me like I was one of the club, like I was like equal, like a fellow human being, like, hey, you're one of us, you speak our language, man. I'm like, it meant the world to me. So with everything else that I have been blessed with in this life and music, one of my biggest goals is that I treat every young musician that I come across with that same grace and dignity that was given to me long before I'd earned a shred of it. This is for mentors everywhere, and it's called Guitar Man. A man rolled into town one day in a beat-up Chevrolet. Said, my name is Luther Jones, and I came here to play. He pulled a case out of his trunk, tuned up where he sat, and while he sang, his fingers danced like fireworks on the frets. He's a guitar man, wood and steel strings ringing, guitar The bills filled up his case, and now and then he'd nod his thanks, a smile upon his face, 'cause he's a guitar man. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. Love that song you're singing, guitar man. Wanna know what you know? Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? My Martins kept me company almost a million miles. From town to town and stage to stage, kept going by your smiles. But times are tough all over, yet somehow we still get by. So check your troubles at the door, 'cause now it's time to fly like that guitar man. Y'all can sing it. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. Love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? Hey, guitar man. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. I love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? Thank y'all so much. Okay. Golly gracious. Y'all are beautiful. I told you that at the beginning, but I meant it. I really did.
Ma'am, ask a question. Ma'am.
A question?
Yes.
50 cents.
You're playing an instrument that I was introduced to as a dobro. But is it a steel guitar that you use the technique being a dobro or what? Is that an international steel guitar and you play it in your lap if you play it as a dobro?
It's a resonator guitar that I play any way that I can coax sound out of it. And I'm telling you the honest truth, really. It's not set up quite like a dobro because I can only see your eyeballs between the strings and the fretboard. And if it was true dobro style, it'd be a good half-inch higher. But because I waffle about everything, I didn't want to like make it so that I couldn't put a finger down every now and then behind the slide. So it's kind of a compromise. And just like the Native American flute, I just got left alone in a room with it for a while and sort of figured out a way to make noise on it incorrectly. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was to make noise on it that I liked that wound up getting written into a song. So my experiments with this are ongoing, and they're about to continue. So, most everybody here comes to church on Sunday mornings?
Yeah.
Some Sunday mornings. So I happen to be a UU as well, which is why I'm welcome among my chosen family far from home on the road. But my congregation is having a little party tonight too, because it's service auction time, and the carnivores among them decided a Buffett-themed cheeseburgers in paradise out in the parking lot so we could have beers would probably lubricate the bidding quite a bit. And let's say our church has a pretty good record when it comes to that. So our church is actually this tiny little wooden chapel, which was built by the formerly enslaved people from nearby Oatlands Plantation in the 1880s. And the AME church that was there used it for 100 years and outgrew it. Moved into downtown Leesburg, and the Unitarians bought it. I knew nothing really of Unitarianism except that it seemed to have a lot of fans who were Unitarians at that time. And one of them was this friend of mine who hosted a radio show on our local AM station and was unfettered enough to play local music all afternoon long in between traffic and news and weather blips, back in the golden days of like real radio for communities. So he passed away in 2019, but he was the one who introduced me to the Unitarian Church and invited me to come and play at the dedication of this building. And this tiny little wooden church was, I walked in and immediately you could feel like a century's worth of the joys and sorrows and despairs and hopes of people who lived through Jim Crow and lynching and segregation and all. And it's just a real powerful experience to walk in the door. And I was like, wow, man, this room is crazy. And I remember that morning, it was a gloomy kind of day like this, and at some point, the sun burst through the clouds, and it's like the whole inside of the chapel just exploded in light. And I was like, man, they knew exactly what they were doing when they built this building. This is amazing. So my friend, his wife passed away a few years before he did, and we all kind of got the sense that he was just waiting for the opportunity to slide out the door and be with her, So he knew he didn't have much time left, and he asked me and Les to do the eulogy at his memorial service. Of course I'll do that. One of the things that he was always so, he was a scholar of our local African American history and a scholar of the blues. He did a sermon in our church on the blues one time that was like drop dead, spot on the money. People were talking about it for weeks. It was amazing. And so I thought, I could say words, or I could take this guitar up there and make noise on the spot, in the moment, and he would have loved that idea too. So that was my plan. Morning of the memorial service, I'm like, pull out the guitar, start noodling around a little bit, and dang it, 15 minutes later, there's the index card, it's done. I'm like, where'd that come from, Not many words, but just enough, I guess. So we're at the memorial service, and lo and behold, I'm playing the song, and the clouds break, and the sun just does that thing. And I'm like, I guess I don't care if anybody else liked it. I guess I got all the affirmation I just needed. comes. Ring them bells. Till we meet again, fare thee well. Still earning. Thank y'all so much.